Production has been stopped. It has come to a complete halt because of your boy Trump and his policies. People are getting laid off work. This line has never stopped before other than lunch and break. But because we can't get parts in, people are getting laid off and the line has stopped completely. Production has stopped.
Mass layoffs have been spreading across the nation in many different sectors, but perhaps the hardest hit sector is the automobile industry, as mass layoffs in 2025 for the auto industry are some of the worst mass layoffs happening right now. And we're going to dig into the stats and we're going to talk about why this is happening. And perhaps the most important question of all is, are these mass layoffs going to continue and get worse? And another really important question that I think everyone is asking is, are used and new car prices actually going down as a result of all this turmoil? But before we begin, you guys, welcome back to Real Estate Mindset. You guys already know that this video is going to be absolutely bonkers. Mitch Vexler, how are you, sir?
The auto industry is rather interesting in that they will blame certain events on other people that may not necessarily be correlated to where we are in reality. So this is going to be an interesting video, but we'll explain and get into what in reality could be called the trickle-down effect as a direct result of these implications of what's happening at the auto plants.
And I'm going to start with the layoffs for the year of 2025, and then I'm going to go specifically into the auto layoffs. But let's see what's happened so far in just 2025. Companies that announced major layoffs and hiring freezes. Now, this is a constantly updating article. So this is actually going to go all the way into 2024. We're not going to look at that. We're just going to look at the most recent layoffs. May 15, 2025, Microsoft is laying off 3% of its workforce, or fewer than 6,800 employees. May 14th, Burberry to cut 1,700 jobs. May 13th, Panasonic to cut 10,000 jobs. May 12th, International Paper to consolidate Rio Grande Valley operations, impacting 117 jobs. May 10th, New York Presbyterian lays off 2% of its workforce, or 1,000 employees. Now, recent federal government layoffs for 2025. In Q1 of 2025, the U.S. workforce faced major disruptions driven by federal layoffs, corporate restructuring, cost-cutting measures, economic pressure, and financial distress across all sectors. And I'm going to add the lack of income growth for mom and pop, and the overwhelming amount of deficit and government debt. Federal agencies drove over half of the layoffs for the quarter, with over, this is a lot, 150,000 job cuts reported in February, only February and March. Now, here's some of the leading companies that announced layoffs in 2025. Number one is actually UPS, with 20,000 people terminated. Number two, Dell Technologies at 12,000, Chevron at 8,000. This is kind of crazy. DHL at 8,000. Also another oil layoff at BP with 7,700 layoffs. Audi at 7,500. Volkswagen at 7,000. Esther Lauder Companies, 7,000. Siemens, 5,600. DBS, 4,000. The United States Cellular Corporation laid off 4,100. So there's a lot of layoffs. Again, you guys can come back here if you want to go down this list. This goes all the way back to 2024, and it breaks down all of the people that are getting laid off right now. Mitch, if you can, I want you to answer this question as if no one's ever heard you before, right? For us, this may be repetitive, but answer this question for the new listener. Why are these mass layoffs spreading across the nation?
We have to define the word mass, because with regard to the government, even though you'll see, well, this division is being rolled into this division, I don't believe the numbers are actually accurate yet. I think what happens in a lot of these cases, they'll say, well, we're going to shut this division down or we're going to shrink it. But that doesn't mean that all those employees got fired. There's a high probability that a lot of those employees got shifted to another division. And then you look at the corporate side of things. Well, on the corporate, people lose jobs for a variety of reasons. And you have to realize that the C-suite, the executive suite, has screwed up in many of those instances. They took political positions, then they decided, well, we're going to hire these people. And then new administration comes in, then they blame the tariffs, and then we don't need these people. It's one excuse after another. But the reality is that the executives of those divisions and the boards themselves have made errors in judgment. And as you've also seen, a lot of these divisions, well, we have multiple layers of managers. Again, it's not the manager's fault. That's the board's fault. And the executive suite that's running the company's fault. So there's plenty of blame to go around. But over and above all that, the idea that the federal government is saying, well, we're going to save billions of dollars by terminating these jobs, whether they've actually terminated them or moved people from one position to another, is a bit of kabuki theater. But I want to point something out. Billions in savings at the federal level is always good. The problem is, given where we are in this economic cycle, given where we are on the rule of 72, where the debts have been compound cumulative, at least since 2016, billions isn't going to cut it. We need wholesale termination of major government entities like the Department of Education. Until you start going after trillions, as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing more than flapping their gums. I'm very fond of what DOGE is doing. DOGE needs to be at every state level. I get it. It's great. The problem is saving $1.5 trillion when you're looking at $600 trillion worth of outstanding derivatives is nothing more than a drop in the bucket. Everything's got to be taken in proper context, and it's hard for everybody to get their head wrapped around the true numbers of the unemployment, other than to realize how bad it was in the Great Depression at 25%. And our numbers, based on the analysis that we've done, are showing if things go bad, we're looking at 35% unemployment. That is something that's very severe, and the only way to avoid it is obtain credibility globally. And the way you obtain credibility is get rid of the debts.
Speaking of debt, and speaking of the rule of 72, which is basically the debt will double in 7 years, what I learned by doing all these criminal complaints against the illegal ISD bond laws, sometimes the rule of 72 doesn't apply to them because they vastly just surge, Mitch, in 1-2 years past that. I've seen the debt double up in 1 year when it comes to the bond debt. So, guys, understand that the fraud, it doesn't have any of these caps. There is no math. It's just extremely bad because they're also tainting and frauding the inputs. And now the entire data set is fraud. Either way, let's go into the auto layoffs now, which is a particularly hard hit industry. And before I go into the stats, let's listen to about a 3-minute video of exactly what's going down in the auto industry.
You know what I mean? I got 4 kids, got a wife, beautiful wife at home. So to see it just all of a sudden disappear, wouldn't you be a little mad about that?
Detroit auto worker is dying on the vine.
I've been here 4 years working hard. You want to give these jobs to other people so you can pay them less than what you're paying me. You shouldn't have never did that.
You can hear her in the streets. You can hear him in the bars. This is a UAW joint in Warren, Michigan. Stellantis, the European company that now owns Jeep, Ram, Dodge, and Chrysler, is laying off 2,500 people at the factory right across the street. Whenever I go to a wake, I like to buy the family a drink.
Everybody that wants one. So what's this mean for people and their bills and everything?
It sucks. What you mean? What it means? The people got to change their whole dynamic now. This is all up, and they've been there 30 years already. Come on, bro. Is that right? No, that ain't
I mean,
right.
you got all the bills outstanding, and all of a sudden it's yanked out.
Nah, it's yanked out.
Michigan is car country, so when an auto plant lays people off, the unemployment train starts to roll downhill. ABC Murray Sprockets has been here on 8 Mile Road more than 50 years.
By the magic of TV.
Charlie,
It's Bob.
They make gears for the assembly line. If the assembly line isn't churning out cars, then ABC might soon become See you later.
The way the country's going now, are you worried that you won't be the fourth generation?
No, I plan on being the fourth generation. I just hope it doesn't die with me.
Well, where's the hell is work going in this country?
It's going to shame. China.
Do you feel that the corporations and the political professionals have forgotten about you, this neighborhood, this state? Have they left you hanging?
I think our governor's left us hanging for sure. I don't think she cares about business in this state right here. She needs to.
Mark Kerneal has been a UAW member for 30 years. He says he'll be okay, but he says the political class has lost the working class.
Every political season, they're here. Kamala's here, Donald's here, and 2 years ago, nobody was here.
Yeah, there was no political pundits here at all, not even in your local cities, city council, either from Detroit or from Warren. You didn't see them until they needed us.
American taxpayers have given Stellantis billions of dollars in cash and incentives, and the Ram truck sells. It was the two-time truck of the year. In fact, North America is Stellantis' most profitable division on the planet. So why, after a bruising strike last year, where temporary workers finally got a raise and became full-time workers, is the company now kicking them to the curb?
A 2-week shutdown at the Stellantis assembly plant in Windsor begins today.
I've had 3 layoff notices in my 25 years, and this is the scariest because it's, I don't know, you don't know what the future is.
About 4,500 workers are off the job until at least the week of April 21st. With what happens after that, still unknown. Windsor's plant makes the Chrysler Pacifica and Voyager minivans, as well as the Dodge Charger Daytona. Meanwhile, Unifor is warning the auto industry tariffs will be felt nationwide.
In 2025, numerous industries have experienced significant layoffs, but the automobile industry stands out as the sector with the highest number of layoffs, both in terms of announced cuts and the scale of the impact. Some of the largest single company actions include Tesla, with more than 14,000 employees laid off, or rather 10% of its workforce. Continental AG with nearly 7,100 job cuts. Nissan, you guys heard about that, 9,000 job cuts. Here's Ford at 4,000 job cuts. General Motors, also job cuts. A lot of stuff happening. In summary, the automobile industry is constantly the leading industry in terms of mass layoffs in 2025, with total employee impacts exceeding other major sectors by a considerable margin. A lot of people, like the intro in this video, are blaming the tariffs. And certainly the tariffs could have a small impact on an already troubled industry, troubled from quantitative tightening and fraud, greed, corruption, property taxes. We can go on and on, the lack of consumer income growth. But if we are just to stick with the tariffs, and we're just looking at that, the tariffs really haven't fully been felt yet. And because the tariffs potentially have not fully been felt yet, isn't it true that the mass layoffs, the mass auto layoffs, are only going to get worse from here on out?
Yes, they're going to get much worse. And the reason why is because of the median household income. The tariffs are a small component part of the issue today, because the tariffs have not been rolled out in full strength, first thing. Second thing is, nobody knows what the actual tariffs are going to be, let alone what they are today. There's all sorts of discussions going on behind the scenes. Tariffs on, tariffs off. Well, it's going to be 10%, not 5%. It's going to be 10%, not 20%. This stuff is bouncing around like a yo-yo. So it's easy for people to say and blame it all on the tariffs because that's just the soundbite. But under the hood, it really has to do with the damage that's been done to mom and pop and what the economic median household income is per house. And there's no doubt that the tariffs have what I'm calling trickle-down effect. That was a term coined by Ronald Reagan, but it really is trickle down. So I know of an industrial building in Windsor where the tenants have gone to month because those tenants are companies, small companies that manufacture parts for other companies. So those are called feeder plants. Well, those feeder plants are dependent on the big plants, i.e. Chrysler, Stellantis. Therefore, they're not healthy, but think it through. So Stellantis down to the feeder plants down to the ownership of the buildings that may or may not be able to pay their mortgages back to the banks. So everything is hooked up at the hip. The tax incentives that were given, that you mentioned, Travis, for some of these plants, part of the problem with those tax incentives is that there's very seldom disclosure to the public as to what's really going on. Who's paying for those tax incentives? Where does that money come from? Well, if you're a plant and you're getting a tax incentive based on you hiring X amount of employees with a guarantee, right? You've got a guarantee that you're hiring X amount of employees or your incentive goes away. What the public doesn't understand is that they're paying for that tax incentive. So you're getting a plant in exchange for giving up your real estate tax to get employees in. Part of the problem is the kabuki theater under the hood. How many incentives are there? Who's paying for the incentives? And under normal circumstances, that is not disclosed to the public. Well, that's a problem in and of itself. So when things go bad, well, the incentives clearly are still on the books, but the employees may not be there. So you're right back to always the same problem. Who wrote the incentive agreement? Who participated in it? And what are the ramifications on the economy, i.e. mom and pop?
All good points, Mitch. Let's go into a subject that a lot of people want to know, which is, are car prices going down? And then we'll talk about how much would they need to go down to get more in line with the median household income. And before I go into the data, I want to listen to this TikTok video from a dealer that's at a dealer auction that's basically hitting the panic button saying, hey, you guys, no one's buying these vehicles.
Government layoffs have destroyed the car industry single-handedly. I've never seen so many new repossessions in my life. It's crazy. People are living hand to mouth. This is Toyota Southeast Finance. Let me show you how many repos and the quality of repo. I'm at a dealer-only auction, and we have the opportunity to buy these repos. 2024 Tundra, 32,000 miles, repossession. 2024 electric, 114 miles, repossession. Right? Look at the sea of repossessions. There's just so many. You can't figure it out. 2023, 21,000 miles. Look at the Corolla. And these are inexpensive, but people don't have any money right now. Look at all these Toyota repos. And they're all from Toyota Southeast Financial. These are good credit people. These are not your Westlake Santander. 2025, 3,000 miles, Southeast Toyota. These are not your bad credit, irresponsible. These are forward-thinking, good. You got to qualify for this truck. This is the Tundra Max. This is the real deal Holyfield. Let's take a look at it. It's a 2024 with 8,000 miles. They probably had this for 6 months. There's tons of them. Look, it's a sea of repossessions. There's so many I can't even cover them. Between tariffs, mass layoffs in the government sector, and these massive deportations, the auto industry is single-handedly falling. People can't afford their $1,000 a month payment. This is a 2024 with 11,000 miles. But it gives us dealers opportunity to buy. I'm really scared. I've been in the business 15 years. This is the first time I'm scared. I don't think you guys understand. Look how far the repos go. There's probably 700, 800 repossessions today. And this has been every week for the past month. What are we going to do?
New car prices have modest declines, but an uncertain outlook. New car prices dropped slightly during 2025, with the average transaction price falling by 2.2% from December 2024 to January 2025, but the total average transaction price still crazy high at, and this is new, for $48,641. And also that guy, the first video, I didn't even mention this. Why is he going to a bar with people that were just laid off? If you were just laid off, the last place you want to go to is the bar. Used car prices have recent drops. However, it has been sticky, but the prices are still volatile. Used car prices have been slowly falling early 2025. The average listing price in February 2025 was around substantially, almost half as expensive as a new car, sitting at $25,128, down roughly $650 from the previous month. New car prices are up 22 to 27% from 2019, so it has a way to go. Now, the interesting thing is used cars. I actually thought this would be a little bit worse, but they're up about 20% as well, up $5,000 from 2019. So both have room to go down. A couple key takeaways here. New car prices are trending slightly down, but the drop is modest and could reverse if tariffs take full effect. I don't agree with that, because the reason why car prices are going down is because the dealers have to lower the price or people won't buy them because people can't afford them. Used car prices are also down from peak, but remain much higher than before the pandemic and face upward seasonal pressure through spring of 2025. Both markets remain challenging for buyers, with affordability squeezed by high prices and high interest rates. In summary, the U.S. new and used car prices are experiencing, this is saying, modest declines, but remain historically high. And multiple factors like tariffs, inventory shortages, and seasonal demand could keep both from falling much further in 2025. But we just watched a video where the repos for cars are exploding. So my question, Mitch, is, to the best of your ability, can you tell us how much further new car prices being $48,000 average, how much further would new car prices have to drop approximately for the average American family to afford one? How much more do they have to go?
The average American family can't afford a new car, and therein lies the problem. So let's run the math. If you say that the median household income is $85,000 and you have a payment of $300 a month, $300 a month times 12, 3,600. 3,600 divided by the 85,000 is 4%. Well, that's not going to get you a $48,000 car. So the delta would be $18,000. So you see, therein lies the ultimate problem, that they're producing cars where they don't even know what the median household income is in their immediate vicinity of who they're selling those cars to. They can't afford a $100,000 car. They can't afford a $68,000 car, and average household, right? So the reality, and the straight answer to Travis's question is, that's why they stuff the channels. They produce the cars and make the illusion, well, look at all the cars that we have. Look at everything we're producing. Well, that pumps up the share price. So, but it doesn't help on the long run. And now you're starting to see the truth come out in virtue of their stock prices. And as we said, fraud, not that you want to call this fraud, but it's an illusion of something that shouldn't have occurred. It has a price. And you're starting to see that price now as things come out of the market, the devaluation of the values of the cars come out of the market. That's a direct result that they're producing cars that the average family cannot afford. And it also plays out even with the used car market. So they're saying, well, look at the value of these pickups. Look at how cheap this is, 18,000 miles. Yeah, except that when you buy one of those, even if you've overpaid for it, even if you got a bargain on it, when you go to sell it, you're not going to be able to sell it for anything close. You're going to have another hit of depreciation. So a new car depreciates ridiculously quickly. If you bought a Mercedes S, call it whatever you want, you're looking at 50 to 60% hit year one in devaluation. Price is what you pay, value is what you receive.
Well said, Mitch. And we're going to end this video now, guys. And don't forget to go to the links in the video description. Go to my website. You guys know we have a campaign going off right now to try to end property taxes. Here's what you guys can do. You can go to my website, realestatemindset.org. You can scroll down. I have this categorized into basically 3 categories. The first one's the criminal complaint. I have templates already made, a little bit of a bio on Mitch and I, but it's categorized into the criminal complaint, how to buy. By the way, you guys, this is free. This is all made for you. I made this for you guys to take, but there's how to buy a house. And here's everything you guys need to know about property taxes. Now, if you want to get the criminal complaint, there's actually a tab up here. When you select it, you're going to see multiple forms and complaints that I've already made. So if you're in any of these counties, don't forget to complete them, sign and file them with the DOJ, the FBI, and your local district attorney. Now, you guys can also go to Mockingbird Properties. This is Mitch's website. You go to /DCAD, and he has an overwhelming amount of information on the lawsuits that he's fighting, as well as all of the evidence tied to the fraud and corruption and debt bubble that we've been talking about. Now, I really appreciate you guys following along. Do me a favor, you guys, comment below and email me if you want me to fill out one of those complaints for you. If you're in Texas, I need to know what county you're in and what ISD you're in. Email me that. I will work on those forms. I will get them to you. I need your help. I'm willing to do that work with you. And other than that, guys, if you're out there investing in real estate, your life, your relationships, things that you love, you guys already know we wish you luck and we hope you win.